I do too. We got a lot. It's a special. So welcome to Over 50 Starting Over, everybody. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
I'd say that we have a special episode coming this week as the post-election, and I just call it the State of the Union, post-election. So we're going to jump right into that. Here's number one, Merle. Guess we know now that voting works.
Well, it does. And I'm so happy to say that. Although here in Arizona,
I heard some stuff.
Things are broken. So it seems like everywhere else got fixed except for my state. We are only 70% into the count right now. Kerry Lake and running against Gallego for Senate, still up for grabs.
Wow.
Although we have heard a lot of the referendums and items that were on there. We do have answers to many of those right now, but we're still in the midst of this whole thing, and so is Nevada. So there's really, when you think about it, Barry, there's no excuse. What are we doing here? It's Friday. Election day was Tuesday. We found out who the president was on Tuesday night. Well, it was midnight my time, so it was Wednesday technically. But
I woke up to it. Yeah.
I mean, we got to get this fixed. It was Maricopa County last time. It's Maricopa County this time. There's some shenanigans that seem like they're going on here. Right before the election, they came out. Secretary of State came out, made an announcement, and said that it could be up to 10 days before we know the results of this election here in Arizona. 10 days. So they projected it right from the beginning, and it's sort of disappointing, but at least we know, right? At least we know there's hopefully we can do something about it now.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, man, whole different vibe in the country in the last couple days.
Kidding.
And it's really awesome. Okay, so I wake up Wednesday, I see the news, and it's like, oh my God, my faith in our system is somewhat restored again, because, we were talking the last couple of weeks, it's got to be too big to rig. Now, I mean, you've got 12 states that would not accept IDs because why would you not? There's only one reason that you would not mandate IDs when you need an ID just to buy cigarettes or beer or go on a plane, anything.
No one's fooling anybody on this.
Right. And so in spite of that, in spite of what was the DOJ suing Virginia?
Right.
Because they wanted to force them to count illegal votes.
Right.
And and so there's just been, in spite of all the funny business, it's been a landslide. And through all of this, we saw Obama fail again, thinking it's 2016 still, with his identity politics, which he's been doing since the beginning of his second term, trying to whip us with that, weaponize identity politics.
Oh, yeah, that's your thing. I like that.
Whipping
us. Very good. Yeah, he was. He came right out. I think
it backfired, dude. It backfired.
It really did. I wonder if we're even going to see him on any campaign trails ever again. I hope not, but we probably will. But, this whole thing about going after black men at the last minute really did backfire on them. And they really did not collect the black vote like they thought that they were going to.
They've been talking down to black people for way too long. In the midnight hour, and during the election, and as soon as the election's over, they're forgotten about. And I'm not going to speak for black people, you speak for, but from what I see, people are fed up and tired of seeing it. It's treating people like fools. They're treating everyone like fools. Post-election, they're all still playing the identity politics, trying to whip us. Saw Joe Scarborough doing that, I think it was yesterday morning, talking about the misogyny of America. Are you kidding me? That dude has officially lost his mind. These kind of people, they're exposed. They exposed themselves during the election process, trying to pass off Biden, and Joe Scarborough himself telling us we can go F ourselves at 6:30 in the morning on national TV if we don't believe that this is the best version of Biden ever, so that 10 days later, after the debate, Joe Scarborough can go on TV and tell us how we need to vote for Kamala Harris because Biden's compromised. Cat's out of the bag, everybody. You put all your chips in and you lost. And you're still trying to do this. You see that Sonny Hoskins on The View, that brain dead program for the dumbest of Americans that, I don't know, are wrapped up in reality TV and such. She was doing the same thing she broke down everybody into all their racial groups. And she says
tribes.
Latinos. She says it like that.
She does say it like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like, why do you gotta be like that?
Yeah,
Latinos and black people.
Yeah, she's really pathetic.
Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, why does it have to be the identity politics?
Is dead.
I certainly hope so. This was a big proof that identity politics doesn't work anymore. It worked for a time. It's worn off, and America weighed in on it. But to your point, when is the media going to learn their lesson here? Joe Scarborough coming out with his wife and Al Sharpton to condemn. Oh gosh. Oh, it's terrible. I thought I had a clip of it, but I don't. They came on the next morning and they said the reason was because black men would not vote for Kamala. Hispanic men are prejudiced against black women and women in general. And it's a big misogyny problem that we have here. And it's not just white supremacy that we have a problem with. We have a problem with black men and Hispanic men, and Donald Trump with all of his macho stuff. It's just and that's how it was going. And this is the most horrible thing that I think is happening right now, Barry, is that the media has sabotaged the people that voted for Kamala. And I got to tell you that I feel like this is a terrible. My heart goes out to these people because they woke up the next morning and it was like the end of the world. They've been told that they were going to lose all of their rights, especially women are going to lose all of their rights.
Where they come up with this? Trump was president before.
Right. And
now he's Hitler all of a sudden.
There are women out there that are saying in the media to break up with their boyfriends, divorce their husbands, shave their heads, don't have sex with their partner anymore. This is as a punishment to men for not bringing Kamala in, and this is the opposite direction that we need to go. We need unity right now.
Well, okay, here we go. Before we go to that, because I certainly agree with you, but it is happening. In spite of all of the nonsense that they're still spewing, the majority by far, even the how do you call it? The majority, the popular vote, even the popular vote voted on Trump. That's a huge statement, even with all of the election interference that we have known about since the 2020 election that has still remained unprosecuted for some reason. Now, I will say there's been some interesting developments. Like I heard, for instance, I don't remember exactly what I heard, but I heard in some regard, even Letitia James, the judge that presided over Trump's hearings, is making some kind of throwing some kind of olive branch.
Yeah, I have a clip of that. Oh, what? An olive branch?
Something like that. But she was backtracking. Dude, there was a person on PBD this morning I was listening to just before the show. He said he's got a friend of some sort, somebody in high standing, who says expect at least a couple suicides in the deep state because some people put all their chips in and double down and they lost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Lara Trump was on there. She was the guest this morning. Well, it was probably filmed last night, but she said that they are definitely, and I was surprised to hear this, that they are truly going to be doing some prosecuting. They're going to clean this shit up.
Well, I've been hearing that a lot of the reason, and only after the fact I heard this, a lot of the reason that we did not have the issues that we had during the 2020 election is really because of Laura Trump and
Mm.
the team that she's been able to garner around her. And I heard that there was something like a 250,000 conservatives that were out at the polls, not, the entire time doing investigations, suing for wrongdoing and things like that. So they really made a difference out there. But I,
There's one thing though. I have a friend that's in one of the three-letter agencies, and I had this conversation 2 nights ago about exactly what we're talking about, well, we all know about the election interference that went on in 2020. The Hunter Biden laptop exposed, it's almost become numb to our ears to say, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah, the Hunter. Well, dude, with all of that, exposed Joe Biden implicated, taking money from the Ukraine. Um, Hunter, crackhead that he was, unqualified for anything at all, was sitting on a board of the Ukraine, one of the most corrupt countries in the world, on one of the most corrupt boards ever, getting paid like $1 million a year for no
yep,
expertise whatsoever, with
right.
all kinds of talking about kickbacks to the big guy. We all know this. Nothing was ever prosecuted. My friend in the three-letter agency said, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It is not up to these agencies to publicize what they're doing. And I said, so you're saying that this is in the works? And this person said something to the effect of, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I immediately came back with, well, 4 years later, but they can immediately put Donald Trump on trial for nothing at just the right time whenever they want. This lawfare has been going on for years. This person said, you got me there.
Yeah, so this is the thing as we go into
Runs
this
deep.
Trump administration is that he's going to have to make some decisions here about what he's going to do regarding the lawfare that was waged towards him. We know one thing, that these major felonies that were against him they're gone now.
Yeah, they
Really,
are.
the legal problems that they created before this election are gone, but that doesn't mean that the problems are gone here. And when I take a look at, now he's got an opportunity to turn the tables, and he could actually uh, uh, legitimately go after people that are in high places like Joe Biden and his family and bring them down.
You should have done that with Hillary, though.
I
And he didn't.
wonder, I wonder now, here's where I'm going with this, is that we've got major issues going on. We've got two major wars that are going on, Israel, Ukraine. We're leaking, we're hemorrhaging money into
Yeah.
Ukraine right now. We've got a giant problem at the border that's happening. We've got inflation sky high. It costs you $400 for stuff that cost you $200 just 4 years ago.
Yes.
And it seems to me like if he really ratchets up the legal action against his enemies, that's only going to be tit for tat, and this is never going to end. And
I disagree.
it seems to me like what needs to okay, give me your thing on that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm double-minded on this, because
I want to hear your side too.
I do not want these people to get away with anything.
Agreed.
However, these are petty people, and while Trump has every legitimate reason to go after these people, if he does, it's going to throw gasoline on their little thing when the embers of their huge bonfire are about to be extinguished, and
Okay.
maybe this could reignite their fervor again. And I want to be done with this and move on. But go ahead. At the same time, it pains me to say that.
I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. In my mind, there's a lot of signs that people are on the ropes. Let me see in my notes. I thought I had some things about people that are backtracking on things. I certainly talked about Letitia James.
I've got a clip on her, by the way, all queued up. If you could let me
We'll get
share.
back to
Yeah.
that.
Make sure you let me
Special.
share, though.
Oh, right. Let me get that queued up for you. The special counsel Jack Smith of DOJ is relieved of his duties. He'll be gone before January 20th, but that's not what I was looking for. Anyways, what my point is there seems to be a lot of retraction going on. People are, remember Mark Zuckerberg? And
Yeah.
he's already been laying the groundwork for, oh yeah, they made me do all that. And
Right.
it's the extent of the corruption that permeates through every aspect of our government and media. We know that it all needs 100% cleaned up. And these are unconstitutional, treasonous acts that have been permeating the lawfare. This is unforgivable. You can't sweep that aside saying, well, they're going to retaliate. There's nothing to retaliate to. That it's one-sided. It's completely one. They've been trying to find something on Trump for the past 8 years and can't come up with anything.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to clean this up. We need to turn everything around and truly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but truly make America great again. Truly get back to what we grew up knowing and thinking what America was. And all of a sudden, we were approximately, 50 years old when we realized the rug was pulled out from underneath of us, that they already have taken over the educational institution. I'm going to get you to your share in really quick here. But
let me comment on what you just said.
Go ahead.
Because it's, we take a look at this, and what I'm not saying forgive and forget. I'm not saying that. What
didn't
I'm
work
saying,
well with Hillary.
No, it didn't. However, if he would have locked her up as they talked about before, I don't think that would have worked out well for the Trump administration.
At the time, maybe not.
At the time, you're right. Is it time right now? I don't know.
Yes.
Here's the thing. You go after a previous sitting president is kind of a sick thing for America. It is not healthy for America to do that. What they did to President Trump during the Biden administration damaged America, not the Republicans. And it damaged our elections as well, because, here's one thing that we saw. People were afraid to say what their opinions were. All the polls were skewed because they
get called a bigot.
They damaged America by doing that. They were going after the Republicans, but they damaged the entire country by doing that. Now, if we go after Biden after this is over, and he certainly deserves it, does that backfire? Does that become the news rather than what's really important right now? I agree. We need to clean things up, but do we need to do it through the legal action? And by the way, I think our legal system needs to be cleaned up. And
the DOJ
got total corruption in our law system right now that needs to be cleaned up, maybe even before we were to bring any of these people before the crowd. But I tell you what, Letitia James, the day after the election was over, she didn't backtrack. She doubled down. She talked about how they were prepared for the attack that was coming their way, and that she was going to protect her citizens from the illegal attack that was going to come from Trump.
Well, one thing that we're going to have to talk about too in a few minutes are the polls in general. Like, what a waste of time. What a bunch of propaganda in and of itself, the polls. And they try so hard to find the right poll. I heard something about, they did this poll earlier in the week, but they didn't get the results they were looking for. They waited later in the week and polled in a slightly different area so they get more of the results they want, because they wanted to keep saying Kamala's neck and neck to get people out there to vote for her. Yeah, when they knew it was a complete failure. Are you ready to go?
No, I'm not.
You're not going to do it?
I'm not going to pull up, but she did say that they were prepared for the fight, and it was ugly. It wasn't pretty. And It is an attack at the way that they see it. And here's the thing is that they seem to be promoting this amongst their constituents that now that this has happened, there's a big fight that has to happen right now. You
Yes,
look
there
at
is.
all of them are saying the same thing, fight, fight, fight. Why fight? What is there to fight about? This is a victory for America right now. We can lock arms and we can move forward together. And if we take a look at the voting on this, here is a share that I will do here that doesn't include any sound, but the people that voted for I'm having all kinds of issues over here. The people that voted for Trump are not your traditional Republicans here.
Agreed.
If you take a look at this graph right here, this is kind of an interesting. If this thing is in the way, I can't even believe this is happening.
Well, what's
okay,
in
hold on. There it is, right there.
Okay, because
American Indians. Look at that. 64% of American Indians voted for Trump.
Why do you suppose that is? That's huge.
I don't know. That is huge. I really thought that they would be more on the Democrat side of things. That was a big difference right here.
That's a big difference.
We got 12% of the black vote. That doesn't seem like a big move
I
right
heard
there. But
way differently.
yeah, so did I. I don't know that that's actually right. Look at this Hispanic vote here, 45 to 53, Asians 38 to 56.
I'm surprised at
right?
Asians.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not so sure about this. These numbers here. You could find different numbers wherever you look. In my
interesting.
Opinion.
That's interesting. What I've been hearing though is that the Latinos came out in droves. I heard 60% voted for Trump.
Yeah, I seem to have heard that too. And they, of course, the leftists were so shocked by that. But it's like, dude, they know what happened in Venezuela, like overnight almost. They don't, and they see exactly the same thing happening here. They didn't come all the way here to relive a Venezuela incident.
They seem to think that if you are Hispanic, then you want illegal Hispanics to come in, and if you're black, you want people to get let out of jail, and and it's just like from citizens that are black or Hispanic, we don't want a crime element in our neighborhoods. We have families that we want to protect and we want to see them do well as well. Yeah. So it seems like like this whole thing, so many backfires that happened, and it came from apparently just not listening to what the people were saying, and it just assuming that I know what you want, and what you want is to get out of this racist, misogynist situation where human rights are a terrible atrocity here in America. It's just not that way.
Well, here's the thing that has become evident to me, and it starts with Obama. I am so sick of that guy. I can't stand it. And I think all of America has gotten sick of him too. You're always going to get the middle-aged white women that think he's the savior. That's part of a virtue signaling thing. But he's doing his same, 2012 shtick. He's calling everybody a bigot and a racist. And if you don't vote my way, and the entire party's been doing that. The entire party's still doing that today. They're still calling you a bigot if you don't think the way they think. We're tired of being called a bigot and racist. It just doesn't fly anymore.
Well, and I think that, mainstream media just doubled down on that as we came towards the election, and they didn't let up. It got worse and worse to the point where they were calling Hitler
the Hitler thing.
And they were calling Trump Hitler.
Where do you go from there? What if somebody worse comes around? What do you call him? I mean, you could go with Stalin. There's a good argument there. But I mean, they're just the fascist thing. He was already in office. Do you know what a fascist is? You might want to take a look at your own party.
Nobody knows what a fascist is. That's the fascism. What is fascism? They don't get it. They just think, Trump mean fascist. Yeah. And unfortunately, the ones that are calling Trump the fascist are the fascists.
As always.
Well, that is the playbook, right? It's the fascism
projection
playbook.
Politics.
I wanted to ask you, Barry. So, leading into this whole thing, I want to just talk about emotions because you mentioned it earlier that there seems to be a difference here in America, and I think it's a big emotional difference. So let's maybe talk about that a little bit. I know
Hope.
before the elections, the day of the election, you called me, and you were feeling uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
now it seems like there's a big change. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's that one's an easy one. It's just hope, man. You can go in any situation in life. If you just don't, if you just have hope, if you are in the most dire of circumstances, but something gives you a glimmer of hope, it changes everything for a human being. I think that we have been faced with that leading through this election, this god awful election, where I mean, come on, the Democrats push out a party, a person that never even has a single vote cast her way. She nominates Tim Walz of all people, and and then we're being told that these two are going to save democracy for us. Um, Looking at and listening to all the rhetoric, knowing all the cheating that's going on, I thought they were in hearing how neck and neck these polls were, but I'll get back to knowing how much cheating has been going on. Thought there was a damn good chance that Kamala Harris would be anointed. Now, why would she want the job? She can't speak. She's obviously dumb. She doesn't know what to do, but she knows she doesn't have to do anything. Joe sat on a beach for 4 years. He
He
didn't run
did.
the damn, and it was just going to be more of that. So
Mm.
she was going to get the accolades and have nothing to do and go down in history as the first woman president. Could you imagine how Hillary Clinton felt about thinking that Kamala was going to actually be the first woman? Oh, she had to be fried over that one.
It's funny because somebody made the comment on Wednesday that the happiest Democrat was Hillary
Yeah,
and the
for
second
sure.
happiest was Joe.
For sure. Yes. I heard that too. Now let's stick with your question, Merle, about the emotional state of the country. Now, the stock market supposedly took
Went,
a
went
giant
up huge.
spike,
Yeah.
a giant spike, and I figured it would. I'm no expert on such things, but I figured for sure it would. Um, so I woke up to just elation, and okay, okay, call me a hypocrite if you want. You remember just a month or two ago, me going on a rant when Trump really tanked, in my opinion, tanked that debate. I thought, oh my God, the most important job interview in all of history. And he comes out and tanks it. He doesn't, not with a single.
Yeah, that was
So
a
I was
bad day.
very upset.
Yeah.
Why was I very upset? We could not survive even 2 more years of this deep state with open borders and siphoning the money out of the country the way they've been doing.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
I'm bleak,
Yeah.
man. So, and then additionally, on the other side, Trump develops a super team that all come charging over from the enemy and say, I'm joining your side. They're the smartest people, formerly of the other team.
That
Jeez,
was
man.
huge.
How about the election? Fight. I'm sorry, the assassination attempt, the first one,
I mean,
the first of
seriously,
two.
that to me is the major turning point in this whole thing. Is it's
It should have
the
been a bigger deal. It got swept
it's
under the rug.
it did, but I think for the people that were really paying attention, that was always right there. And Trump in his rallies would talk about how he would be fighting for us with every breath in his body. Here's a president who was shot in the head and is still talking about how he's going to lay his life down for this country. And people talk about how, well, Donald Trump only cares about himself. And I think that that's a silly thing to say right now. Here's a multi-millionaire, maybe billionaire, who doesn't have to do this
78
whatsoever.
years
There's
old.
there's there's no there's no thing. He's already been the president. It's not like he has to do this to for his ego or anything like that. He's taken a big demotion actually financially.
Yeah.
Even last time around, he didn't even take the salary. He let
Why?
that stay with the United
Why would he?
States. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's the only one that's done that, but it's amazing. And you know, I think really that was a big thing that woke people up. Barry, one thing that I see, and one thing you've talked about over the years, is how the mainstream media has been ebbing away, and that people are now going to venues like this one to get their
Independent.
news
Yeah.
and to get insight. And what I saw when you take a look at the popular vote, it looks like America's no longer addicted to mainstream media, and they're actually opening their eyes and opening their minds and listening to the real facts. And I think that there's a hunger here in this country for the real truth.
There is.
And the truth has been very hard to tell. I have this thing, and we'll do it.
COVID was an eye opener for us, buddy.
It really was. I have this whole thing on character and the attributes of character that we'll go over on a future show. But one of them is the ability to talk about hard subjects and tell the truth around it, even if it's unpopular. And we talked about that with respect as well, that people respect you when you're able to do that. But it's a hard thing to do because what you're doing is you're poking your head up out of the hole and you're allowing yourself to become a target. And I think, this victory that Trump has is a huge milestone, but it also is a milestone for the work is just beginning.
Agreed.
And I think a lot of the work that needs to be done, Barry, is work like you and I have done over this show over the 5 years. We're coming up on our anniversary for 5 years now.
Dude, we just passed it by
just
a day.
passed it. Wow. Happy anniversary. That's a big deal. But here's the thing is, Barry, you and I, we're best friends and we come from different sides of the tracks, and you and I have been able to reason together all of these years.
Respectfully.
We have vehemently disagreed on subjects, but we've been able to find common ground through reason. And I think this is a big lesson for people here in America. That
Here's
they need
the
to
lesson.
be able to do this.
You're exactly right, Merle. I love what you just said, and you teed this up nice, because here's the lesson: is our media has been using, and our political structure's been using. Okay, so not just politics, not just the two-party system, which I have in my notes. You first opened my eyes to this, but we should consider eliminating parties.
Shouldn't
We'll
we?
get back to that.
Yes.
Okay, because the lesson here that I'm just piggybacking on what you teed up there is, so we know that this country has been intentionally divided for years now. And the whole racial stuff, the bigotry stuff, is more of the intention of dividing us, throwing out every single issue and saying, pick your side. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, pick your side, dig in and fight. Ridiculous. Here's what we need to do from now on. This needs to be part of the movement. Two things. First of all, don't call me a bigot. Anytime somebody goes there, look at them and go, really? You're doing the bigot thing?
Right.
Let's get way on the other side of that. But here's the other thing. This needs to be a movement, is know that two truths can be right at the same time. And every time that is the case. Okay, Thomas Jefferson could own slaves and still be one of the most important figures in our history.
Yeah.
That's one example. But it's everything. You and I had a conversation a few months back when I think Russell Brand is still under the gun, but when it first came about a lot of sexual allegations, and you're like, I don't think so. What do you think? And well, he was a heroin addict who fashioned himself as a rock star. I think back then he probably was guilty of even more than what he was accused of. But on the other hand, two truths can be right at the same time. He also cleaned himself up and completely reformed himself. And so do what you will with that. My point being, with everything, two truths can be and are right at all times. It's just you may favor one truth over the other, but just don't dig your heels in and think that you have the absolutes. You're not God.
Man, this is such a big point that you're making right now, Barry, because I mean, for me, I was at this what do you call it, where people get together. It's
Crossroads?
A networking event. I went to a networking event last night. I couldn't think of the name. I'm so tired from that I couldn't think of the name of it. But This is the thing where it's like two truths can be this can
Be right at the same
at
time.
the same time.
Yeah.
You're exactly right about this. We were talking about this last night as well. Um, the fact is that we've got to be able to open up our minds and listen to what the other person is saying, and the art of listening, and sometimes even hearing what's behind what people are saying, and being able to find that common ground, because at the end of the day we're all very much alike here,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that what people have learned is that they've been deceived by mainstream media,
God,
and
yeah.
that they need to be able to break out of this bondage. There's a bondage that's happening with this whole thing, and you can see the people that are addicted to this bondage. They seem very unhappy. They have a look on their face, actually, and I want to help cure that. I want to help. I think love is what cures that, to be honest
Of
with you,
course it
Barry.
does. And to your point, let's just briefly talk, speaking to the looks on their faces and the behavior, the problem behavior. Here we go,
Oh,
Jimmy
this is
It was a
Kimmel.
terrible.
terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism,
Right up
for
there with
justice,
J-Lo.
for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for
What a beta, man.
Where do you start on this whole thing? Are you kidding me? Are you flipping kidding me? Wait, it was a bad night for free speech. What are you talking about? Really, a bad night for free speech? We have lived under this tyrannical
Yes.
regime of an administration when it
Trying to
comes to
censor
free
everything.
speech.
They come
Yeah.
up with new terms, misinformation and disinformation, so that they can censor things.
Look,
I mean, my God.
we had the Twitter files over under the
Exposed
Biden
everything.
administration, right? And what are you talking about free speech? What are you talking about our
He's
allies?
uneducated.
Our allies? Are you kidding me? Look at what's up with our allies. I mean, is Ukraine our ally? Because if they are, it seems like all we've done is we've promoted a corrupt government there and given them all of our money, and it's done nothing for the people of Ukraine whatsoever. All it's done is it's given over their farmlands and all of their belongings to the globalists. We're fleecing that country right now. We're not helping them. We have to stop hurting them is what we need to do. And how does this guy not see that?
You
I
know
mean,
what? I want to
seriously.
talk about that for a minute. We just saw J-Lo get up there and cry about Kamala Harris a couple of days ago too. Coincidentally, she's probably implicated in tons of Diddy stuff. She
Right.
was his ex-ho. So, there's that. But I've been so disappointed to see people like, they did the Avengers thing where all of them, the celebrities went up there and did a pro Kamala thing, including Robert Downey Jr., which I've been so disappointed with him because he was for many years referred to in behind the scenes as the closet conservative. And then I saw Michael Keaton do a similar video,
It was
and
terrible.
that was so disheartening to me because he's always been known to be the anti-Hollywood guy. He lives in his rural Pennsylvania spread, real down-to-earth guy. What do you think is going on with these celebrities?
Okay, so that's interesting. I saw Michael Keaton do that, and it was weird. I mean, it was just weird.
Like
I
Tim
felt,
Wall's weird?
yeah, it
Wow.
was. It felt. Did you see it? It felt
I
really
did.
like
I did.
off-putting to me. It didn't seem like he was being himself at all. It seemed extremely fake, and you saw these people that were magnetized towards Kamala at the end. You saw Beyonce. You didn't see her until the very end. You saw all these other people, Hillary and Bill and Obama came into the scene. And then all of these different celebrities were all around and musical performance. Do you know that Kamala spent $1 billion on her campaign, Barry? A
God, I
billion
did
dollars. There was
not.
just a little over 100 days.
It had to be super PACs, huh?
They spent $1 billion, and guess what else? At the end of the day, they ended up $20 million in debt.
Wow.
And a big part of it is paying off these celebrities to come and perform and
Wow.
stuff. It was literally millions and millions of dollars. So there's jokes now about Kamala calling these people and asking for her money back because she owes all this money. But then you got to think about like you're running these campaigns and you're into the $1 billion mark here, and then you lose the election, surprisingly. Now, the night of the election, it was pretty clear that Kamala was going to lose. It hadn't been called yet, but they had this big thing going on at Howard University. And all these people stayed up all night long waiting for Kamala to come out for a victory thing. And late into the night, it was probably about 1:30 in the morning, they were all still there. Kamala wouldn't come out and speak to him. She sent somebody
Yes.
out there, and he was just like, Kamala's not coming out, so goodbye. So, I mean, it was very short, sweet, and abrupt.
Oh,
And
God.
but I started to think about, I wonder what happened right there. My thing is this, personally, if it were me, they would be very, very emotional, and maybe like this anxiety would come upon you. Like you spent $1 billion and you're $20 million in debt, and you have to go out and tell everybody after you told everybody Donald Trump was an existential threat to democracy,
Yeah.
that you lost even the popular vote. How are you going to say that? And here's the other thing. Did you hear the concession speech?
I didn't.
The
No,
next day,
dude, I don't ever want to hear her voice again in my
I
life.
understand, but here's something kind of funny. The next day, she did come out in the afternoon and give her concession speech. And if you listen to the words of the concession speech, you find a couple of funny things. One is that it didn't sound like a real concession.
Yeah, of course not.
But secondly, if you go back to Hillary Clinton's concession speech, it's
Eerily the
the
same.
same speech,
Oh,
Barry. Not even
yeah.
eerily the same. It's plagiarized. It's the same
Wow.
speech. It's the same
Wow.
words. It's crazy. How could that happen? Well, it just proves one thing, that she never actually was genuine in this
Oh,
entire
God. You
election.
don't need
She
to even
never
say
was
that.
herself. But
Everybody
here's
knows
the
that.
thing. Like, we talk about what happened at the end where Joe Rogan had Trump and he had JD Vance on the show. I listened to a lot of the Trump one. I listened to part of JD Vance, and these guys were being pegged by the Democrats as weird, but they turned out to be very relatable, and that they could talk about any subject, whether it was politics,
Yeah.
sports, family, just anything. Like, they could talk to you like they were your next door neighbor. That's what Kamala needed to be. She doesn't have that in her personality, so she couldn't do
Doesn't
any of
exist.
those things. And it
No.
seems odd to me, Barry, because when I thought about the 2020 presidential election, we talked about this many times. Nobody liked Kamala back then. How could they think that something had changed after they kept her under wraps for 4 years? We
Dude,
barely even saw her.
the hubris of the system. They
Hubris.
really,
Good word.
they thought that they could do and say anything and convince anybody of anything. All they got to do is they got the whole machine behind them, the propaganda machine. You send out the news releases via email. They all change their talking points in unison all at once.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
repeat it 10 times before noon, it must be true. I got to
It was
tell you, to that point, I heard so much about JD Vance being weird that it just ignited my curiosity. And I kept looking for clips, trying to find this weird. I could never find it. And then I started listening to whole interviews with him. And I do mean 2 to 3 hour interviews. I'm like, that is the most solid dude I ever heard in my life. I'm not kidding. And I want him to be our next president or
right.
someone just like him. But I
Right.
mean, if a tragedy strikes, I'm real good with JD Vance taking
Me
over
too.
the wheel.
Me too. And that's the thing.
But back to the power that they were trying to, the power of persuasion that they apparently thought they had. And I am just so elated that American people finally saw through this.
I am too. And you know what? It reminded me, to your point, the whole thing reminded me of that scene in Star Wars where Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "These aren't the droids you're looking for." And that's
I
how the
don't
media
remember
was
that.
the entire time. Like they were like, okay, move along, and the droids were right there. Like it was mind control,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's exactly how the
Yeah,
mainstream media
it
was.
does.
Is they
They
just
the
you
hate
saw
thing
it in front of your very eyes, and they would say, "These aren't the droids you're looking
for
for."
sure.
Oh, these aren't the droids we're looking for.
Yeah,
Like we're
for sure.
idiots like that. And
But I tell you what, they did brainwash everybody with the Trump hate. It
they
worked.
did. They brainwashed everybody with Trump hate. They brainwashed everybody with COVID. It really, Joe Biden was our COVID president.
Yeah.
It was serious MK Ultra type brainwashing that happened to this entire world, and it was a
Yeah.
serious push. It was
That was a globalist. That was a globalist
perpetrated
thing.
on us, right? Now here's my question: is being that is the truth, what you just said. Is it time for the Trump administration to maybe not focus so much on the lawfare, but focus more on exposing the plot that's been happening with, let's say, the CIA and how they were involved, what the globalists are doing? Let's find out more about who actually was behind these assassination attempts so that we can see who is it that has designs on our country. To me, that's the real thing here. Joe Biden and the whole lawfare thing, he was just a stooge. He's a marionette doll,
Oh,
right?
sure.
I want us to expose the people that were behind those people. To me, those
That's a
are
tough
the
one.
people that's much tougher, right? To me, it's a lot easier to go after the Joe Bidens of the world, but that's just going after the symptoms instead of the root cause. I think what we really need is to go after the root of the problem. And we've got these one worlders out there, the globalists that have been enacting a plan on us for over 100 years now. And we are coming to a point in time where it's a time of reckoning. And I'm hoping that this new administration understands that. We've talked about this before, but our financial system is in a big and precarious situation with our $35 trillion in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard Trump talking about paying off this debt, and people were questioning him, and he wouldn't go into details on this, although everybody likes to hear, oh, we're going to pay down our debt. But one of the things I know, Barry, is that the way that the Federal Reserve has set up our system, if we try to pay it down or pay it off, it'll break the system. It'll cause it'll cause the system to crash, and it's designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder, is it Trump just saying these things to appease our ears, or does he really not know?
Dude, I would put Vivek Ramaswamy on that one, I think. And I heard someone say, I forget who, that we should default on the debt, like claiming bankruptcy on credit card debt, and just start
I've
fresh.
said that.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
I knew it
Yeah,
was
no.
someone smart.
We
Yeah.
said we talked thank you. We talked about that on the show. And one of the things about this is this whole concept of the United States being a corporation. In fact, we were talking about this in this networking thing last night, where the United States of America instead of is all in caps. And when we make corporations, we put in legally we put those names all in caps. This country, there's a history here. We won't go into it in our country where it actually makes America a corporation. And so corporations have the ability to declare bankruptcy and start all over again.
Yeah, right.
And so what we have here is we've got this, we are really in the grips of these bankers right now with this $35 trillion in debt. And where did the $35 trillion come from? Well,
China.
you think about that. Here's the funny thing about it is when the Federal Reserve writes a check, there's nothing in the bank when they write the check. So they're inventing money. It's not coming from anywhere. They're inventing it, and then they're making a whole lot of money off of it. It's I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we declare bankruptcy, who gets injured on that? The people that invented a whole lot of money and gave it to us. See, if they actually gave their own money to us, then they would be injured, but they didn't do that.
Right.
So there's a moral foundation to actually declaring bankruptcy because of this. It's morally bankrupt to invent money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oops. See,
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I wanted to do more research on this so I could talk more succinctly to it, but it's the fiat system that we're currently on.
That's right.
Versus, as I understand, Austrian economics. I know that the libertarians speak about that quite a bit. And I think that's what we were on. I mean, is that the same as the gold standard? I'm not sure.
No, it's not. The gold standard is opposite of fiat money. Fiat money, we're just inventing money.
No, I meant Austrian economics.
Oh, I don't know anything about Austrian economics. What are you talking about?
Well, that's what I wanted to do more research on. I hear libertarians talk about that a lot, and I thought it was synonymous. That was my question. I think it's synonymous with the gold standard that we used to be on before.
Well, if it is,
system.
then I agree with that. I don't know what Austrian economics are, but I do know the gold standard. It protects us. Here's a great example: is that back in the days of the Roman Empire, if you had a gold coin, you could buy your brand new toga with brand new shoes, your brand new little wreath thing around your neck, very expensive, right? It's like having a new suit back then. Today, if you had a gold coin, that very same gold coin would buy you a new suit, a new shirt, a new tie, new shoes. It's, in other words, the gold coin retained its value for over 2,000 years. And that's what protects us. Inflation is a result of this debt-based monetary system that we're on, and deficit spending money that the government doesn't have, that causes them to eke the value of that money that they just created out of the existing pool of currency that's out there, which lowers the value of our dollar so that when we go to the store, it costs twice as much to buy your groceries, and butter's now $7 for.
It's a way to tax people without inflation.
Well, this is what the administration did over the last 4 years, is they tried to tell us that the reason these things were happening was because of greedy capitalists.
Yeah.
In other words, our capitalist system doesn't work, and that's why this is happening. And what a sabotage that is, when it's really them spending money that we don't have and then blaming it on the capitalist system. That's not how the capitalist system is supposed to work, and they're blaming it on that. That's a lie. And I think that the more exposure to that very thing is going to be very protective, because we need our politicians to be all over this, and we need to hold them accountable. But if we don't understand it ourselves, this is a big, like, if these guys turn into carnies, they're just like, step right up and give me your wallet, you know. And that's basically what's happening here. People are like, yeah, let's do it. And here's one other thing, is like, under wartime situations, people are much more willing to give up their liberties, right? Like, we're patriots, let's give up our liberties. It happened
9/11.
It happened under COVID. They made it seem like if we didn't get the shot, that we weren't being patriotic, even though my body, my choice and everything. We all just was like, oh, well, we'll do it because this is sort of like a war, like an invasion, right? And so the more they promote these kind of wars that are going on, war on terror, war on women, war on this, war on that, war in Ukraine, war here, they can just take all of our God-given liberties that we have. And we've seen that. We've seen that happening, especially over the last 5 years here. And it's time to pull the rug out from under these people. And the only way we can do that is by exposing the information.
Yes.
This is what I think is happening right now that I'm excited about, is that this revelation of information is finally happening. And it's happening through venues like this. People are telling the truth. People are first realizing that there is an evil force out there that's trying to hurt us, and they're speaking to us through the media, and they're deceiving us, and they're hungry for the truth, and there's a ring to the truth. And when they hear it, maybe it makes them feel a little bit sick at first. I know it made me feel that way.
Sure.
But they know that they're hearing the truth. This is what we were talking about in our networking meeting last night, is that there is a hunger for that. So people that are producing that have the courage to produce the truth, because it takes courage, those are the people that are going to change this world. And now's our opportunity, Barry.
Agreed. Along those lines, I was thinking about all the what kind of bothers me almost more than anything is the unconstitutional lawfare that is waged against the ex-president. I don't care who that ex-president was.
Same.
And I mean that. Anybody, unconstitutional lawfare, weaponizing our political systems, our, what do you call it, security agencies, again, for political reasons right here within our own United States. I think that network of people responsible for that, the key figures, need to be held accountable to the point. I'm getting to the information part. The proof of it has to be totally exposed so people see it for themselves irrefutably. A lot of books are being written right now and will continue to be written over the next few years as we unravel this mess, and it permeates through every aspect of our government. I think it's extremely important that the prosecution of this, the details of it, come to light for the general public to know and understand. So it's not just swept under the rug by mainstream media. And when I say, let's say mainstream media truly today is more of the independent podcast, to be perfectly, I should say corporate media. So I think corporate media is probably going to the wayside where it should be. And for another thing, there's only two countries in this whole world that allow the pharmaceutical industry to advertise on their media, and that is us, and to a smaller extent, New Zealand.
Wow.
All right. So us, we should rectify that as soon as Trump gets in office. This leads me to something entirely different. I've been wanting to get to a question for you. And I'm sorry, I just skipped around, but this is very important. I've been wanting to get to. So pre-office, which is January 2nd, between now and January 20th, do you have any expectations on the kind of shenanigans that may be taking place between now and then?
I do. And I think that this is the thing that I'm concerned about right here. And let's see if we can play this. Jamie Raskin talking about what would happen with a Trump win.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Dude, what the hell's that guy talking about?
So here's what he's talking about. Let me make sure I got this turned off on my side. So he's talking about the 14th Amendment, and what he's saying is that on January 6th, they're going to disqualify Donald Trump. So how could they disqualify him? It has to do with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And I'm going to read that to you right now. But this is one of the amendments that freed the slaves. So this is what happened after the Civil War, after we had an insurrection. So that's kind of what he's trying to say here. The Civil War was an insurrection, and here it is, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may by a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. So he's saying that because Trump directed January 6th of 2020 that he's actually disqualified from being the president, and he's going to have to tell the rampaging Trump or MAGA voters that Trump is disqualified. However, Raskin is completely talking out of the side of his head here, because it's interesting that the 14th Amendment in Section 1 is talking about the state, nor shall the United States deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. That's in the 14th Amendment. So when was Trump convicted of secession? Never. There's been no due process of the law on this. So he can't actually do what he said that he's going to do. But the problem is nobody reads the Constitution. Nobody knows what's in the Constitution. When he says, well, it's in the Section 3, I mean, when he says it, it sounds official because he must know what's in it because he's a congressman, right?
Right.
This is the problem here, but I do anticipate that we're going to have a January 6th kind of thing that could potentially happen here. Raskin's been talking about this for months now, and you can't put it past them to pull all the triggers. The other thing I've been hearing is that they are currently Trump-proofing the White House. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
This is what I was asking about.
It does sound like they're trying to do things to sabotage the presidency. And remember last time around, they took Flynn, who had been he had been appointed to a position on the cabinet, and they stormed his house with the FBI, and they ruined his reputation, so he couldn't be. And it turned out that he was an enemy of Obama, and there was information that he could expose about the other party. And they needed to get rid of this guy. So I really believe, and we already know that the DOJ is weaponized against Trump, and they're all still there right now. Merrick Garland is still there right now. So these people, you can't underestimate the level of pettiness these people will go to. And I just look at some of the things that they've said in the past. They don't seem to care about anybody that has supported Trump, and really they don't seem to care about Americans in general because of what they've done over the last 4 years. So I personally am almost ready to expect anything. I also think that Trump's life is still in danger. I think that even JD Vance's life is in danger. And I hope that as we take a look at the Secret Service and the fact that they're government employees as well and can be manipulated, I hope they're looking into this whole thing, because that kind of a tragedy could really set the world on fire.
I totally agree with you. Said some scary things right there. So I'm not sure what to expect. I've been a little bit worried about what could transpire between now and then. So the Republicans, if I'm correct, have the majority of the Senate now. Is that right?
Yeah, they've got 52 now, and now that they have JD Vance as vice president, it's really any tiebreakers would be broken by JD Vance. So huge advantage there. In the House, we're looking at we're very close. The Republicans are very close to taking the House as well. They need to get to 218. I think they're at 212 right now. They flipped 6 seats. The Democrats have flipped 4 seats, so they're +2 on the Republican side, and they already had the majority. So it's looking like a mathematical impossibility for the Democrats to take the House. So what we're going to see here, and maybe even for the first time in my life with the Republicans, is that the Republicans have the presidency, they've got the House, they've got the Senate, and they've got the majority in the Supreme Court. I don't think that's ever happened.
Okay. That sounds like a really good way to clean up House in the next 4 years. But after that, it sounds like a really good way for absolute power to corrupt absolutely.
That's what I want to say on this. I'm glad you said that, because I tend to agree that this could turn out to be a problem, but I think it's interesting. We talked about Lawfare. it seems like the lawfare that they waged against Trump is the reason for this to happen. And the funny, ironic thing about it is they talked about Trump said he's going to be a dictator. Well, he didn't say really. They're leaving some words out there.
He said a lot of things that he
Yeah.
didn't say.
But they've set it up for him to almost have dictatorial powers here.
Well, now what I understand is they originally did that during the Obama era because they thought that they were going to maintain power for then and evermore, even if it were a Mitt Romney or whoever. They never anticipated a Trump. Trump comes around and they start really crapping their pants.
Well, and here's the thing is when Obama had it, he had the House, he had the Senate, and he also had the Supreme Court. I've never seen this on the Republican side, though. And I've never seen it where on the Republican side, not only does the Republican win the Electoral College, but he wins the popular vote, too. So this is a mandate from America. To say we are 100% backing Trump. He dragged in the Senate and the House, and he's got those people in the Supreme Court. I mean, my goodness, you're right, and what you're saying is that's a perfect soil to fix things. But these are the kind of things where absolute power can corrupt absolutely. So we'll have to see what happens. I have to say that I have a lot of hope here. And at the same time, this is government, and we can't underestimate the power of the government screwing things up.
That's a fact. But that brings me to the thought of Elon Musk. And governance, however they say it, and governance of efficiency and something agency, the efficiency agency, something like that. In other words, he takes over Twitter. He reduces the staff by about 78%, and in 2 weeks, it's running more efficiently. I could totally see that analogy with our government for sure.
I can too. I mean, back to the team around him, he's put together a stellar team. I've never seen a team like this before.
Nope.
I mean, these do seem like very, very smart people.
Very good people.
Yeah. So, I mean, Trump, when he got up to speak and gave his acceptance speech, he talked about this being the golden age of America. And I hope he's right. I feel like he's right about this.
I didn't hear that.
It was in his acceptance speech. I stayed up. I just didn't want to miss anything. So I stayed up late that night and watched everything. The golden age of America. Is that right? Is this it? Is this the time? Because it could be. So. And what a difference a day makes, Barry. I mean, the Tuesday, there was all this anxiety. Wednesday, it was like this calmness set in on our country, and people didn't seem like there was a different look on people's faces for the most part. You could find people that were very distraught, but it did seem like there was just this calm, this peace that was happening. I felt it during the day, and now it's like, okay, back to reality. It's not like the people that want to destroy this country have melted away. They're still there. We have to be ready for that. They don't like our freedoms. That's really what it is, Barry. Sure. We go back to that Declaration of Independence where it says that God has given us these unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's interesting too. In that section that I just read in the 14th Amendment, it says that due process has to happen. They can't take away your life, liberty, or property without due process. You see, property and the pursuit of happiness mean the same thing in this document. And look at how they have this Agenda 2030. You'll own nothing and love it.
Sure.
That goes so against our constitutional republic. And that's another thing too, is how they try to convince us we live in a democracy. I'm sick of hearing that. I wish people would stop saying it. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic with an electoral college where the individual is highly valued, and the individual has the opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. ownership. We can pass on our wealth to our children, and we can have a better tomorrow. That's what the American dream is based on, and these people have been trying to steal it away from us. And now it's the golden age. Maybe we can capture this back, Barry.
Maybe, I hope so. You made me think
I love
of,
how you said that.
well, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, there's a lot there, and I'm going to set something up for a future discussion because it's too heavy.
Yeah.
I love the whole thought of this golden age and what could be. I really do, especially with what we've been through in the last 4 years. What you made me think about the property thing and all that, that's obviously completely counter to all Marxism. And but when I'm in Florida and I'm driving around the nicest places at Longboat Key and all these different places with these mega mansions that I can barely see and I will never see because I'm not allowed to see because they're owned by all these people that came way before us. And this same property's probably been passed through the family or onto other people that just got super lucky in some regard or another. And so 99% of us will never be able to see the most beautiful parts of this country that are now owned because the population has exploded so much and all of these things. And it does make me think, what a shame that this is the crazy thing. I'm going to try to back my way out of this convoluted conversation because it's too much for now. But on the one hand, that kind of freedom that we have, the American dream where we can pursue our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and own our own stuff. On the other hand, everybody else already owns it. And I don't even have a chance to own that stuff because we're no longer settling a country. We almost have to get off this planet again and find the new frontier once again.
No, I get what you're saying here. And I've done
it's too heavy for today, though.
A lot of thinking about that.
Yeah.
Let me just wrap that up because one thing is that what we live in here as a constitutional republic, however, it's been commandeered. And so now the playing field isn't level any longer, and there are certain people that have more liberty and more rights than other people do. And I'm talking about this back to this banking system again, where there are people here in this country that have the ability to just invent money, create it out of thin air. Yeah. And a lot of people have been able to take advantage of that. That's not the merit system that's a part of our capitalist philosophy here in the free market, Barry. And that is why these things are happening right now. There are people that have had this ability to cheat the system. And therefore they've been able to lock up these things that we can't access. And that is not right. That has to change. You're exactly right. That has to change. We can't give people the ability to have wealth that they didn't work for. That's what's going on right now. No, you have the ability to pass on wealth. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you shouldn't have a money machine in your backyard where you can just say, oh, I need $1 million. Here it is. That sounds great and everything, but that's what's ruining America right now. That's why when we go to the store, it costs so much and we can't afford these houses. We've got these hedge funds that are buying up houses that are making it more expensive for me and you to buy houses. And who are the people that own the hedge funds? Those very people that are behind those walled in mansions. And that's what I'm talking about, man. That is how they tip the scale in their favor. No one's talking about this stuff. It's got to change. And that's what I'm saying. We have to go back to the gold and silver standard so we can prevent that kind of manipulation from happening.
Yeah, and it's kind of like letting the Pelosi's and many, many other people, our politicians, get away with fleecing us for hundreds of millions of dollars by doing insider trading and all that. It's kind of like, well, they got away with it, but let's just correct it for the future. Well, I mean, I guess
that's a form of stealing as well. I mean, if you're able to cheat the system like that, this is money that would have gone someplace else, but you got that inside information and you stole it for yourself and it makes it legal. You know what's fun is when a reporter finally asked Nancy Pelosi about this. Look at her face. It's awesome.
Well, she licks her teeth.
Headlights. Yeah, she's all
All right, let's I want to throw out all the rest of this stuff and you talk about what you want because I'm going to have to go soon, but there's a lot to talk about. I wanted to say like two things. What we can expect post-election kind of quickly. I'm going to throw out a few bulletin points, such as falling inflation and energy prices, reversal of open border policies, maybe deportation, ease out of wars. Maybe we revisit the Abraham Accords. How about not so quickly? Super important, though. Reforming education, the FDA, big pharma, and the entire tech industry, and start by breaking up Google, the evil empire. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I love all of those things. And, you know, as we're running out of time here, it's like we can't even really harness a lot of those things.
Let's talk right as soon as Trump gets in office. I'll guarantee you one thing I have learned about this 78-year-old man is he doesn't have an off button. He's not going to go in there and take a vacation.
No. This is the hardest working man I've ever seen.
Agreed.
I haven't seen anything like this.
Agreed. At 78 years old, he was going harder at the end of the campaign than he was at any other time.
Absolutely. And we've heard this in the last 2 days. Hamas is saying after the Trump win that they want peace. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I did not. Holy crap, dude. That's huge.
Yeah. Let me just read the headline on this one.
Where does that go, though? That goes a lot of different. Okay, you want peace. What avenue do you take to
Hamas
that?
calls for immediate end of the war after Trump election win.
My God.
Okay. Also, number 2, Putin has gotten a hold of Trump and said that he wants to work out terms of a ceasefire and wants to end this whole thing.
Look at that, man. He's not even in office yet.
I mean, come on. It's this kind of reminds me of Noah's Ark, you know, in the Bible. Like they land on the Mount Ararat, and then the waters just start to recede. It feels like the waters are starting to recede right now, and we're starting to see land, and the dove of peace is here with the olive branch. It feels like I want it to be that so bad,
dude.
Barry.
I do too. I gotta tell you, when Trump was in office last, I didn't think much about war because there wasn't much to think about.
Right.
Then in the last 4 years, my eyes have become so open to what we used to. Yeah, we used to toss around the military industrial complex here and there. Now I've just gotten sick to my stomach about it on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
War. And we used to romanticize war and have these movies about war heroes and all that. Well, now everybody has a camera in their pocket, and you see the babies that are dying in rubble and things like that. We can find, such as the Abraham Accords, we can find avenues and ways and negotiations and diplomacy to get out of freaking killing each other.
Yeah, Barry, question for you on that subject is, do you feel that it actually was a benefit to America to have gone through the last 4 years with Joe Biden as opposed to Trump, so that we could see what the designs were that the people that don't love our country had on us?
Yeah, that's inevitably exactly the right conclusion, because two big things. So you said that we needed to witness what being run by the deep state looks like. We needed to feel that. The other thing is, Trump was in a horrible position to just continue on into a second term. He had surrounded by horrible people. He needed to get away from it. He needed to see what could be done better and put together the super team that he has now, unprecedented in history. This is like divine intervention, man.
That's what it feels like.
Written out that way. It had to be this way.
It really does.
Look, the whole country's behind it. Look at the popular vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an amazing thing that's happened here, and I agree with you on this. I think that we all needed to see this so that we could do something about it, and it has united people that were not united before. And so I just think that all these things are working together for good right now.
Let
And
me ask you this one. Oh, did you
I
want
was
to?
going to say I'm hoping that the mainstream media it has just gotten the stake in the heart on this one
Me
because
too.
they deserve it.
For sure. Absolutely, for sure. I do believe that I've seen Chris Cuomo doing about face in his
Yeah.
career, and which is really funny. But I do hope that someone salvages their media outlet and mainstream media so that the boomers can actually get some real news.
I hope so
Um,
too.
Now, I wanted to ask you, what is our open border? What does the whole border situation and illegal immigrant situation look like in your opinion come January 20th?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
It's a big question.
Trump has talked about how he's going to deport on day one, and I believe I know he's going to start deporting, and he's gonna prioritize the criminals first.
Where do you deport them to?
I mean, back to the country they came from. There's gonna be a cost to this whole thing, and knowing Trump, he'll probably try to reverse the charges on these other countries. But one of the things that Trump was really successful at doing was being able to send people back to other countries that didn't want their people back. And we are the biggest giver of money to other countries in the world. That's something we need to look at as well.
Uh-huh.
But one of the
Yes.
things that Trump was doing when he was sending people back was, wait, what? They're not going to take these people back? All right, tell them the money gets cut off. What? What? Oh, they want the people back now? Okay. And so I like how he rolls on that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what I think is going to happen. And I think he's got some people mobilized that are on the border agents that are ready to start enforcing the law again. I think they're going to go back to the remain in Mexico thing. And I think we're going to see these gangs that are here first being eliminated and sent back. I think that's going to be kind of exciting. Here's something else, though.
Oh,
that
I got
I'm
a quick question for you. Do you think that we'll hear about a strike on that bridge that they're building on the Darien Gap?
That's
We
interesting,
may
right?
not, we just never hear about it.
Yeah, we may
You know,
not be. That could be one of those things that just doesn't get covered by the news. But isn't it interesting that they were building that bridge over there
a
after everything
road.
that
I
we
should
studied?
a
Or a
whole
big,
road.
big
Yeah.
road. Yeah, because we
Right.
know that 150,000 people are, well, it was like something like 50,000 people die in the Darien Gap every year or some
Yeah,
crazy
something
number
crazy.
like
Like you
that.
almost had to march or climb over bodies to get
That's what they
through there.
said. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's what they said. All these decaying bodies, and this has been going on for years. They don't clean the bodies out. So this is just one of the most morbid, dangerous
Yeah.
walks anybody can ever go through. And when you think about the fact that the UN is actually footing the bill to send these people over through that area, and that the United
Aren't we the
States is
biggest
the
contributor?
biggest contributor to the UN, we're
Oh, there's
doing it to
so many.
ourselves.
Oh, there's so much stuff that's so
How
messed
about
up.
these NGOs that are completely sponsoring this whole thing? Wonder what's going
Yeah.
to happen with them. Do we go
Yeah.
after these guys? I hope so. I hope that's what happens. And these but I don't know what these deportations are going to look like. I did see a funny video this week though, and it was a Hispanic man who was crying about Trump's win, and he was crying that he was worried that his illegal immigrant mother-in-law was going to get nabbed and taken back to her country, and then he starts going, she's over at 1323 Elm
I
Street.
saw that
She's got
somewhere.
a red door and it's always unlocked.
I saw that somewhere weeks ago.
That's
Yeah.
just funny
Yeah.
to me. Well, it's funny that we can laugh about all these things. I wonder what the future for Kamala is going to be.
Oh, dude, I hope we never hear of her again. I don't see
I
any
hope so.
reason to.
I,
She has nothing to offer anyone. Yeah. So she doesn't need to work again. I'm sure that she's embezzled enough money through the corrupt political system that she could live comfortably. What is she going to get hired to do?
You're right about this. So remember, Doug Emhoff has all of those investments in lithium through BlackRock. So that's a big deal right there. It doesn't seem like they're going to be hurting for money at all. She doesn't necessarily need to work, but these people seem to not be able to resist being in the limelight. So
Right.
I feel like we're probably going to hear that laugh again.
Oh, God.
I know, right? How about the Democrat Party? Do you think that they're going to learn a lesson here? Because these things don't work anymore.
I got a really good question for you about that. You're right. Look, if you're the most dyed-in-the-wool, blue no matter who person, at some point you have to start taking a look and going, you know what? I am supporting things that I used to not believe in. I used to be all about free speech, and now I'm all about censorship and all this stuff. Do you take a look at that in reform? But this comes back to when you were talking about we were talking about the House turning and then the Senate turning and then the House probably turning and the power of the Republicans and blah, blah, blah. Well, previous to that, a little bit earlier in the show, we were talking about let's eliminate the parties. Yes. Well, then what does all this look like then? Well, how do you run a House? How do you run a Senate? How do you run the balance of power without the parties?
But we did it before. That's the thing.
Right.
Under Washington, there wasn't a party system. So we need to go back to that and look at how that was done. Because, remember what George Washington said was that if we implement a party system, it'll be all about the party and not about the country. And look at exactly what's happened over the last several elections.
Yes.
We've become blinded to the actual policies and emboldened to a party, so much so that we can't even talk to people in the other party without becoming enraged.
Exactly. So if we, for whatever reason, deem it impossible to eliminate parties altogether, well, then we need two other parties. We need a moderate left and a moderate right.
Yeah.
And don't tell me that can't be done.
Well, the problem with that, though, is that these things take on a life of their own and then they become corrupted pretty easily. I think the problem isn't necessarily the party, although that's an easy one for us to get wrapped around and screwed up. But the problem is people. I mean, that's really what the problem is. We have a fallen nature. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why the whole checks and balances are in place in the first place. But I do agree that the party system, I mean, more than any other time, it seems like that's really been screwing us up here.
All right. So
I got one more thing here, Barry.
I want to ask you. Yeah, you can do that. Let me ask you very quickly, though, because it's still along the lines of what to expect. When do you expect to see inflation and energy prices fall? What do you think that looks like?
Well, I think on day one, what we're going to see is some executive orders that are reversing the things that Joe Biden did on day one regarding energy. He says, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
He talks about the liquid gold that's underneath of our country right now, which is oil, which is basically untapped. We were energy independent before Trump left office. I got a weird guy coming up. Oh. Anyway, he's dropping something
Tim Walz?
Here. Yeah, Tim Walz just showed up.
Looking for a job?
Yeah.
I could be the head coach of your high school football team.
Yeah, right. But the energy independence actually draws every part of our businesses in America are dependent on energy. And as soon as we lower the cost of energy, it'll lower the cost of everything else. And we'll start to see that taking effect in our supermarkets when we buy. I say within the first few months, we're going to start to see the glaciers melting away.
Nice. Oh God, music to my ears. I love what you said about reversing those executive orders. You had something to close with?
I was going to say this. One of the things that Trump talked about was freeing the captives of January 6th. I think that's a pretty big deal right there because these people have not gotten their Fourth Amendment rights, which is due process. Many of these people were put in solitary confinement for
That's
months.
inhumane.
For months. That is a human rights violation right there. Remember Marion Sheridan, my aunt, she's facing life in prison right now because of the whole electoral college thing going back to January 6th. I am hoping that this means that these people that have been, I mean, she's facing life in prison for doing exactly what she was supposed to do as an American patriot.
Yes.
And all of these other electors she was one of the electors in Michigan. I'm hoping Trump goes and pardons all of those people. And I do know one thing, that the lawfare that was waged towards her has cost a fortune. That they've, their retirement age, and they've had to wipe out retirement money. There's a sick thing that they pulled on these electors in Michigan. All of them are retirement age. They did that to all of them. And why? To intimidate them, to make them shut up, not just intimidate them, to intimidate me and you. And we're done with that. We are done with that. We're turning the page.
That's funny. I think that you're right about that. And I also think that Trump probably has a big soft spot for people that have suffered through lawfare.
I agree. I think so too. The man has a different look on his face than he did the first time around.
Oh, you know what I got to say is, do you remember a few months ago when he did the interview with Tucker Carlson on Twitter, and a couple things after, he didn't sound like himself. He did an interview with Lex Friedman that I listened to. It was around that same time. He sounded like he had that lisp. He sounded weird. He sounded tired. He did not sound like himself. In the last couple of months, he's a regular old Trump again.
Yeah, that was a weird time there. And I remember when he was on that Twitter thing that Elon put together, how he sounded like he had a lisp, and other people weren't hearing it.
I heard it.
I did too. And but I was pinging other people about this, and they were saying, no, I don't hear it at all. And so then there was a lot of weird stuff going on with X at the time and the European Union. And I don't know, man. It just seems like when you really look at this truly was the greatest comeback of all time. You really look at what this guy had to overcome. I hope it's inspiring. I mean, it's an American story. I hope that's inspiring to everybody, because the man even got shot in the head and then becomes a president. I mean, when he left office in 2020, you wouldn't think anything like this would happen, but it did. And this is a great story for America.
Yeah, it certainly is. What is that you got behind you? It looks like a big exercise machine or something.
No, this is this.
Oh, that's what that is. It looked like, okay. Weird.
Yeah, that is.
It was kind of an optical.
Weird. And then I got my there's a bench right over here in my shredder, and then a green screen, and so it's all coming
but you saw what I saw.
Some kind of Pilates thing over there.
Yeah. They're like, oh, that's weird.
Right,
that
it's
he
a
would
torture
put
device.
All right, buddy. I could literally go on with this subject matter another hour and a half.
There's a lot. There's so much there. You're right. Me
there
too,
is.
But we do have to move on, and I hope that our fans got a lot out of this, and I hope I just want to wish everybody a positive next 4 years. I want to just bless America here. God bless America.
And along those lines, thank you. God bless America for sure. Along those lines, let's try to help our brethren cope with this in a very understanding manner.
Yes.
Let's love
on them. Yeah. Let's not return tit for tat. Let's love on those people, bring them into the fold. If Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and Elon Musk can come over here and not only come over, but be a big part of changing things for the better for all of us. This is a we the people kind of thing that's happening right here.
Yeah.
And there's enough room for everybody's opinion, but we just need to respect one another. That's really, we got to listen and respect.
Agreed. And I know that I have to deal with some ramifications with friends and family members coming up here. And
Thanksgiving's going to be interesting.
Yeah. We usually are mature enough not to talk about that there until we get separate in a corner with somebody somewhere. But I'm saying in general, there's a couple people one-on-one where I'll hear some hateful stuff and I'll be like, yeah, and I'll handle it like, I know what you mean. Yeah. Maybe throw in, but the popular vote, but it's going to be gentle is my point.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of high emotions, a lot of hatred that is, I don't know, going unchecked. It has nowhere to go is what I mean.
Yes. I like what you're saying there. And I learned something a long time ago from somebody that it has to do with the word but. And
yes.
And so like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I know this has got to be tough. And I think that if we really wrap our minds around it and lock arms, that we can make this better for everybody.
Very important, because if you use the word but, then it sounds like you're negating
what you just said. Yes.
What they're saying.
Yes.
So no, I think that's super important. That was a good place to interject that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, let's wrap it up.
All right. With that, go to Over 50 Starting Over, everybody. Sign up for the email list there. Get all this with the links and everything right to your email box as it happens. As soon as this thing drops, you get the email. Sign up at YouTube. Subscribe, please. I think most importantly, go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-apple review. Thanks a lot, Merle. Talk to you soon. Great podcast. Man. All right. Yep.
Hey there, Over 50 Starting Over friends. Mark Tennant back with you with your AI tip of the week. This week, for the best ChatGPT results, just have a conversation. Prompting, we've talked about it, and we've talked about how to structure your prompts, but really we haven't told you much about conversational AI, about being conversational with these models, and especially ChatGPT, because your prompts are your conversations. Have that conversation with ChatGPT. It could be your AI assistant, and you start having those conversations, it will be your personal AI assistant. So we have two examples, one for work and one for home. So let's get going. So let's open up ChatGPT and have that conversation. So the first prompt is, hi ChatGPT, I have several spreadsheets on sales and customer feedback, and I want to learn how to analyze these using AI. I'm new to AI, so could you please coach me and help me get started, and then ask me anything that you need. So we went ahead and opened up ChatGPT and we pasted that in. And first of all, it came back with kind of questions. It said, okay, Mark, what kind of data types do you have? What kind of goals? What kind of current tools? I answered it in the response below, as you see, and then this is what it came back with. So you can sales trends over time, you can do identifying top performing products, insights on customer feedback, and then you can ask the AI to create some pivot tables for you off of your data, or you don't know how to do that. Show me how to do that in AI. Same thing with Excel charts. Anything that gives you here, you can just turn right around and ask the AI, teach you how to do that. And it's great. And you can do that with any task at work. It'll coach you on anything. Now, let's go to the home. I love to cook, so I came up with this prompt. Hi, ChatGPT. I just love meatloaf and want to surprise my family with one that has an Italian feel. It's flavorful, it's juicy, and it has a unique twist to it. And I said, ask me any questions you need to know more. So it came back with, okay, Mark, here's some basic ingredients. How about some Italian herbs and flavors? How about a juicy twist with sun-dried tomatoes and cheese? And how about some sauce on top? I pretty much just said, hey, go with it. That's great. ChatGPT says this meatloaf is going to be a showstopper. And there you have it. Boom. An Italian-style meatloaf with mozzarella and sun-dried tomato twists. Now you can actually have that conversation and say, hey, maybe I want less garlic or a little bit more than this. Maybe no breadcrumbs, and maybe instead of breadcrumbs, what do I use? Have that conversation, refine those recipes, refine those tasks at work, and let AI be your guide. Remember, natural conversations with ChatGPT or any AI allows you to get the answers and the insights you need. It's like speaking with a well-informed personal assistant. So if you want to get a hold of me, marktennant.net is my website. Email mark@marktennant.net. Have any questions on AI at all? And I've actually had a few people submit some questions, and I answer all my email. So please hit me up, mark@marktennant.net. And on the socials, LinkedIn, I am Mark E. Tennant. Until next time, have those conversations with the AI. Keep refining those prompts, keep learning, and keep using AI. Take care.